So it was Bob Dylan's birthday recently. He was 78 years old. Genuine old, right? Anyway, more important, this box set just came out. It's Bob Dylan 1975 Rolling Thunder Review Tour. 14 discs. And that's a lot of Bob Dylan. Now, before you get nervous, I will tell you that you don't have to buy the whole 14 disc set. It's also available on a 3 LP, 2 CD set that's also known as Rolling Thunder, but it's called the Bootleg Series. Bootleg Series Volume 5 is 2 CDs or 3 LPs. So 14 CDs is a little much for you. Don't worry about it. They got you covered. But anyway, I'm going to tell you what's inside the box. Now, before I tell you what's inside the box, I saw this tour at Madison Square Garden in 1975. And I've seen Dylan a bunch of times, but never as good as this. He had this huge band, on stage, 12, 14, 15 people. Joan Baez was there, T-Bone Burnett, a lot of heavyweights. Not stars. Joan Baez was a star, but T-Bone, nobody really knew who he was then, but he's now sort of a big deal, right? But anyway, he had this big band, and Dylan wanted this circus-like atmosphere, and he wore makeup and this big hat, so he didn't really stand out. Actually, I remember that Joan Baez and Bob Dylan were dressed the same outfit, same crazy hat with flowers and fruit in it and stuff, and white makeup. And Dylan's, I guess, not that tall, and neither was Joan, so they you could mix them up, right? So I remember at one point when Joan came out, they thought Joan was Bob Dylan. So it's that kind of party atmosphere, you could say, right? But anyway, so there's this nice booklet that comes with it. It's 52 pages of amazing pictures and some great essays in there. And it's nice stuff. Nicely done, not too big. And the box isn't one of those huge boxes that, what are you going to do with this gigantic thing? So it's not that big, but it's chock full. But to me, the most impressive thing about the box set isn't the actual shows, because there's, I think, 5 complete concerts on 2 discs each. No, these other 4 discs are more impressive to me, because they are the rehearsals for the tour, 2 discs of rehearsals in New York at SIR Studios, and a 3rd rehearsal in somewhere in Massachusetts. And these are the songs. Here's disc 1. I'm showing you this, right? Disc 1. And here is disc 2. And here is disc 3. This is the one that's not in New York, obviously. And then there's this bonus disc of other stuff. So these are all really, really good. And the thing that's so great about the rehearsals is, first of all, a lot of these songs don't actually wind up in the shows. The shows they're drawn a lot from his early career, but also from his then recent albums like Blood on the Tracks and Desire. And I think there's a little too much from Blood on the Tracks and Desire in these concerts. And a lot of the songs are repeated again and again and again. Like When I Paint My Masterpiece, which isn't from either of those albums, opens all of the shows, and all of the shows close with the Woody Guthrie tune, This Land Is Your Land. But it's got a great mix of acoustic and electric tunes, and Dylan's performances live are big. He's like the big, he's shouting, he's really projecting a lot. He's not the little folk singer guy anymore. And but in these rehearsals, they're more intimate. It's in a small space. It's not a concert hall. So I like the performances even more on these rehearsals. And I guess it's kind of a shame that you can't just buy those as separate pieces. Now, I don't know how much of this will be available on streaming. I kind of have a feeling that there'll be a sampling, so to speak, of some of this on Tidal. Let's see, because when I'm doing this, it actually isn't up on Tidal yet. No, I don't think it is. So I don't think you're going to see all 14 discs worth on Tidal or Spotify or anything. I think you gotta pay up to hear it. But remember, you can get the 2-disc version, 2 discs, 2 CD or 3 LP version of this tour. Anyway, it's the best I've ever seen Dylan. You know, I remember, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, Dylan played Madison Square Garden with Paul Simon. They alternated who was the opening act, who was opening for who. And it was the contrast between Paul Simon and Bob Dylan was huge, because Paul Simon's sets are really tightly arranged, and he's a great voice, and it's just a very precise feeling, although good. Paul Simon is a great entertainer. And then when I saw that show, it was the night that Paul Simon opened for Bob Dylan, and as he was closing his set, Dylan came out and they sang a song together, or maybe a couple of songs together. And when you're hearing them singing a song together, I think it was like The Box or something, Paul Simon did his bit for the Dylan tune, but when Dylan sang it, you had no idea what the song was anymore. So when Dylan did his set, a lot of the audience, including me, most of the time didn't know what song he was singing. So the contrast between Paul Simon and Bob Dylan was huge. But this is an earlier time. This is 1975. And when I say Dylan was at his peak, well, he might have been at his performance peak. I don't think he was at his creative peak anymore. I think that was earlier. But as a performer and creating this incredible energy, and you know, when he started this tour, he called it the never-ending tour. But it did end. It ended the following year in 1976. According to the booklet, it just sort of fizzled out. But because people were coming and going from the band. But it's funny that now, in the 20-teens, Dylan is doing the never-ending tour. He is always touring somewhere in the world. It's like the sun never set on the British Empire. Well, the sun never sets on a Bob Dylan tour anymore, because he's in perpetual touring mode. So that's amazing. It really is. So if you're feeling brave, you should go see Dylan now. Or if you're not as brave, you should listen to some of his performances from 1975. I think I've said my piece. My name is Steve Guttenberg. I am not Bob Dylan. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and it does come up daily, so check it out, subscribe, share these videos. There's music reviews like this one. There's speaker reviews, headphone reviews, Audiophiliac of the Day, stories where other people get to be me for a day and do their own thing. And more. Over 600 episodes, over 10 million views just recently, so thank you guys for that. And I hope to see you back here again very, very soon. And thank you for watching.